This is Talking Points, and I'm Esme Murphy. Our conversation today is about student loans and how everything surrounding student loans, from the application process to the payback, is changing, and it's changing right now. First, you should know that there are 42 million Americans with student debt. In Minnesota, there are 775,000 people who owe money on student loans, and the average in Minnesota, over $34,000. Rules around paying loans back has just changed. The 5-year pause on trying to collect defaulted student loans is over. 195,000 defaulted borrowers got a notice this week saying that the government could start garnishing their wages or federal benefits, including Social Security, in the next 30 days. Another 5.2 million borrowers will get garnishment notices this summer. In addition, Republican proposals in Congress would reduce eligibility for Pell Grants, make loan payments higher, and put limits on Parent Plus loans. Joining us to try and sort this out is Chris Wills. He is the president of College Inside Track. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Esme.
All right, let's talk about those who are sort of at the back end here, who are getting hit hard, really just this week with. They've defaulted on their student loans, but for 5 years they haven't had to pay. What is going on now?
Yeah, well, so for the first time since COVID, the government announced that they're going to be collecting on defaulted student loans. And there's going to be some communication about that, but ultimately, if borrowers can't get that back on track or figure things out, there may be involuntary collections of those loans.
Right, they're even talking about federal benefits, perhaps Social Security, something like that. You know, so it's very serious. Obviously, that would affect your credit score if you're a younger person trying to start out in life. That's pretty devastating.
For sure, that could include, tax refunds could be garnished, wages, benefits, if you get Social Security check or things like that. So certainly that's the worst case scenario. I think they're going to try, of course, to help people find a way to get that back on track. There's a thing called loan rehabilitation. They're offering certainly services. So hopefully people can find some solutions.
Yeah. One of the things that you wanted to talk about is the fact that people are confused when you use the term student loan. There's only one student loan that you want people to have that just the kid can take out.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
So what's important for families to understand who are maybe coming into this process is there's actually only one student loan that only the student themselves can take out.
That's the federal.
That's the federal direct loan.
Okay.
And there's limits on that. So the first year, $5,500. The second year, $6,500, and the third and fourth year, $7,500. So anything else that a family might need to borrow above and beyond that is going to require a cosigner.
Okay, I know that, and because I've interviewed you before, you do not like the Parent Plus loans and the parents signing on. Why is that?
We prefer that be the last resort, if at all possible. So the Parent Plus loan is a federal loan where there really isn't a limit. It's sort of set in such that you can cover whatever gap there is between the cost of education and whatever maybe the student financial aid or student loan is. But that can get parents, this is a loan for parents,
right,
into some pretty high debt at an age where maybe they're thinking about retirement,
right,
and other things like that.
Right. And it can come back to haunt you. Obviously, you have no idea what circumstances you're going to end up with in life. So that's tough. But that's your advice. Let me ask you. I know that you're the person who kind of helps people navigate this process on the front end. I'm sure you helped a lot of young people and their families who were counting on or looking at the forgiveness plans that President Joe Biden was talking about. Is that all out the window?
Well, it's unknown, unfortunately. The Biden student loan forgiveness, those plans were put into place, and then they got to the courts, and then the courts ruled that they couldn't go forward. So yes, those Biden student loan forgiveness programs are not happening. Now, if anything follows them, I guess that remains to be seen.
So people who thought they were eligible to get it, will get it down the road, they're out of luck.
Correct.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Yep.
All right, another thing that's going on is you've got a lot of proposals from the Republicans that really would fundamentally change this entire process. One of the big things is reduce the eligibility for Pell Grants. That's a big deal, especially for lower income people. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's all proposed right now. Obviously, these things can change, but they're definitely looking at reimagining that program. Some of the
Which
changes,
has been in place for years, decades.
For sure, yep. Some of the changes would be to make the requirements to be in that program more stringent, so increasing the minimum number of hours that a student has to be in school to qualify.
How about the income levels? Are they looking at changing that?
That's on the table.
Okay.
Now, on the flip side, there is talk of expanding the program to more like workforce training and like short-term programs, so like non-four-year college paths. So that may open up sort of a different category, but yes, I mean, it could be overhauled entirely.
And also they're looking at higher loan payments, also limits on Parent Plus loans, which we've talked about. I mean, that all could change.
That's correct. So some of the things being proposed would be eliminating altogether the subsidized student loan for undergraduates. That's where the government covers the cost of interest while the student's in school. There's also talk about changing or limiting some of the borrowing limits, even tying the loan amount to the average national cost of the program of study. Okay.
So that would look across the board. It just seems like, God, this must be so tough for people going through this, and I'm glad that I've gotten past this, because this is really getting even more complicated than it was, and it was already hard with the FAFSA, which I think is a nightmare for many people. Just kind of shrivel up when they hear that. What do you advise people to do?
Well, I certainly think, given all the things that are changing, to pay attention to what's going on, certainly to talk to folks either at your high school counselor, organizations like ours, your loan servicer, if you're out of school and you have a student loan, if you're in college, talk to the financial aid office, talk to the people that are in the know on this, because what might have been the case a year ago or even 3 months ago,
or even 3 weeks ago,
may not be the case today.
Right. I want to ask you, you said that one of the things that Republicans or Congress is looking at are subsidies for non-four-year programs. Mm-hmm. What about that? I mean, is college really worth it, the four-year college as we know it today, with these kinds of numbers, and maybe alternative programs, certainly what they used to be considered the VOTEC or paths like that, are good ways to make quite a bit of money and support your family and live well?
Yeah, well, I think we've always felt our philosophy is to find the right fit, and the right fit may mean a four-year degree. It certainly is for a lot of folks, and studies continue to show that a four-year degree, your lifetime earnings outpace those with a high school diploma. But sure, I think there's a lot more interest and appetite from families for non-four-year paths, and we certainly know those are wonderful career opportunities. Not everybody needs to go to college to be successful.
Okay. And just bottom line, are we just supposed to follow the news every single day to see what could be changing? I mean, because it is changing that quickly.
Well, I would say yes. If you have a student loan and you're someone who's going to be entering this college process, again, talk to people that are up to date on this information, because it's changing a lot. I mean, we're getting lots of questions. This is something that we do for our families, but again, there's resources at high schools, colleges, and so forth. But just we cannot assume that the way it used to be is the way it's going to be.
And I know that something that you help families with is that there is other money out there, even for families who might have incomes that are considered middle class or even upper middle class. That there is merit scholarships out there.
Yeah, right. I mean, exactly. I think fundamentally helping families understand how the college financial process works, that's really important. That's really confusing. I mean, this is like the second biggest purchase that most people make in their lives, but not a lot know about the details, you
Right.
know, and so it isn't just necessarily loans or even the aid you might get based on your family income. There's what's called merit aid, you know, which is based on the accomplishments of your child, right? So just understanding how all that works can help a family figure out like how to find the most affordable fit.
All right. Well, Chris Wills, thank you so much for coming by. We really appreciate it. And it's complicated, but thank you very much. That does it for this edition of Talking Points. Please reach out to me with comments or suggestions at esme@cbs.com. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Esme Murphy, WCCO News.